3 spine-chilling tales of haunted nights. Sinister secrets revealed from lonely homes. Lisa's heart raced as she turned the key in the door, the familiar creak of the hinges sending chills down her spine. The monsters were out tonight. She could feel it. Shadows danced across the walls of her Maplewood home, seemingly alive as the sun dipped low. She glanced at her children, Sarah and Jake, tucked snugly in their beds, blissfully unaware of the encroaching darkness. But Lisa knew something wasn't right. Each night brought unsettling changes. The porch lights flickered erratically, like a breathing giant sighing in despair. And the notes, crumpled paper stuffed into her mailbox, bearing cryptic messages. "They're watching. Trust no one." Panic bubbled in her throat, but she swallowed it down. This was just stress from long hours at the gas station, nothing more. Until Sarah disappeared, just gone, like a whisper on the wind. She tried to shake the fear, but it crept into her bones. Neighbors she'd shared meals with glared as if they were in on some hideous secret. Their whispers followed her, filling the night air with tension. Lisa inched toward her car, her breath escaping in quick puffs. The gas station pulsed with the eerie glow of fluorescent lights, yet the familiar hum turned sinister as each tick of the clock reminded her of her friend vanishing. Suddenly, she caught sight of movement, a figure lurking at the edge of her yard. A flash of dread enveloped her, flushing her cheeks hot before her heart dropped into her stomach. "Lisa," a raspy voice called from the shadows. "I know the truth." She whimpered, fingers trembling against the cold metal of her car. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue." The whispering fog thickened, and dread pooled in her gut as she reminded herself of those ominous notes. "They're watching." The realization crashed over her. What if the danger was closer than she thought? What if these were not mere shadows, but a dark force embedded in Maplewood's facade? She turned back, determination igniting her spirit. Sarah was out there, and Lisa would discover what was hidden beneath the pretense of suburban life. Focused, she combed through the clues, a chilling series of discoveries that revealed a cult hidden in plain sight among neighbors pretending to be friends. Legend spoke of rituals performed in the dark to renew their grip on the town, a grip that had claimed the innocent. The very ground beneath her felt tainted. And then, in a horrifying twist, a close family friend stepped forward, eyes gleaming with a fervor that chilled her. Loyalty twisted into betrayal. Lisa's breath came fast. She had to act before the shadows eclipsed everything she loved. The sun would rise, but would she still have her family when it did? The clock ticked, a malignant heartbeat echoing through her fears. They were hunting, and she was their next target. Would Lisa unlock the dark secrets of her own home, or would those secrets swallow her whole, claiming yet another victim to the vanilla-tinged darkness of Maplewood? Every nerve in Lisa's body screamed as she backed away from the shadowy figure, heart racing like a trapped animal. Her mind whirled with questions. Who? How? What did they know? The figure stepped closer, the darkness obscuring their features, but she could sense the cold malevolence radiating from them. "Lisa, don't run. You'll regret it," the voice rasped, sending a fresh wave of terror through her veins. Panic nearly paralyzed her, but the image of Sarah's empty room cut through the haze. She couldn't allow fear to immobilize her. Not now, not ever. With a sudden burst of instinct, she darted back towards her home. The door slammed shut behind her, the sound echoing in the stillness like a gunshot. She leaned against it, chest heaving, desperate to block out the horrors lurking outside. But the darkness seemed to seep in through the cracks, whispering promises of despair. Frantically, she scanned the room, eyes flickering over the mess of children's toys scattered across the floor. Jake woke with a start, rubbing his eyes. "Mom, what's wrong?" The innocent question struck her like a knife. He should be asleep, safe from whatever prowled the night. "Stay here, Jake. Don't come out," she ordered, trembling fingers clutching the kitchen phone. With unsteady hands, she dialed 911, praying for a response. But the line was crackling, the operator's voice mute, lost in a void that swallowed sound. Her heart sank. This was no ordinary night. With nowhere left to turn, she raced towards the staircase. Shadows slithered along the walls, whispering her name, urging her deeper into the unknown. Each step felt heavier, as if the house itself was trying to hold her back. The door to Sarah's room loomed at the end of the hall, and Lisa hesitated for just a moment, fear clawing at her throat. What if she found something inside that would shatter her heart even more? It didn't matter. She had to know. She slowly opened the door, the hinges creaking in protest. The sight that met her eyes was jarring. The bed was unmade, a pile of discarded clothes crumpled in a corner, but a book lay open on the desk. It was Sarah's diary, pages filled with familiar doodles and scribbled thoughts. She stepped closer, heart pounding, desperate for a clue. And then she saw it. There, along the margins, were jarring phrases that twisted her stomach. Words like, "They see me," "The pact," and "Mother, I'm scared." A sickening realization washed over her. Sarah wasn't just lost. She was entangled in something sinister, something far greater than she could grasp. Suddenly, a loud thud echoed from downstairs. Panic flooded her as she turned, trying to tune out the dark thoughts wrapping around her mind. They were coming for her. Her children. The thought ignited a fire within her. Lisa sprinted for the hallway, adrenaline propelling her forward. As she descended the stairs, a voice rang out, louder and crisp. "Lisa, come home." It reverberated through the walls, familiar yet twisted. She stumbled to a stop as it washed over her, its melody haunting and welcoming all at once. Images of family dinners, laughter, and warmth blossomed in her mind. It felt finally like home, but she knew nothing was safe here. However, there was something else in that voice, something vile. Shadows danced in the corners again, and the air thickened. Behind her, Jake called her name, that innocent plea snapping her back from the edge. Lisa turned, breath hitching in her throat. "Mom, I'm scared." The darkness surged forward, wrapping around her in a vice grip. And just like that, the comforting memories twisted into nightmares. A parade of faces and voices of those once trusted, now transformed into sullen shadows. She gasped, backing into the wall as realization dawned. Could the whispers be true? As she stared into the gathering darkness, a choice loomed before her. Follow the voice or face the shadows. She squeezed her eyes shut, trying to block out the fear, but it clawed at her. Lisa opened her eyes again, prepared to fight, but the chilling rasp returned. "You can't escape. We've been waiting." As she stepped forward, determined to uncover the truth, the house exhaled, a low, rumbling growl resonating through the walls. The shadows shifted, closing in around her, and she thought she heard Sarah's voice calling from beyond. Would she abandon her threads of hope or plunge into the abyss to save her daughter? The choice was laid bare as the lights flickered, casting dark shapes upon her trembling form. And then, darkness engulfed her entirely. Would Lisa find the strength to confront the very monsters haunting her home, or would she lose everything to the cold grasp of despair? Lisa's heart thundered as darkness pressed against her, gripping her throat like an icy hand. Panic surged anew, but she fought against it, refusing to let fear win. The dim light from the staircase flickered, illuminating just enough to see the silhouettes of shadows pooling like oil across the floor. The accusing whispers grew louder, coiling through the air, and they carried the weight of every sorrow she had ever known. "Lisa," the voice echoed, softer now, yet somehow more menacing. She shook her head, creeping toward the source. "What do you want from me?" Her voice trembled, laced with desperation. "We want you to remember," it taunted, slithering into her thoughts. "We're all here, waiting." Each syllable scraped against her skin, heating it with a dread she couldn't escape. Memories invaded her mind, Sarah's laughter, the days filled with innocence, and then, like a tidal wave, the fear of loss crashed over her. Suddenly, Jake yanked on her pant leg, pulling her back into the present. "Mom, are we going to be okay?" His innocent blue eyes reflected her own panic, amplifying the weight on her chest. She knelt to his level, forcing a calm she didn't feel. "We'll be fine, sweetheart. Just stay close." One hand reached for him, but the other was clenched tightly around her own panic. As they retreated toward the kitchen, the shadows followed, whispering an almost seductive melody of despair. She could hear Sarah's voice clearer now, distant yet close, mixed with the frigid air of dread. "Mom, please, help me." "Stop it!" Lisa screamed, pushing her back against the counters, breath hitching. But silence hung heavy in the room, broken only by Jake's soft whimpers. An echo of laughter erupted behind her, childlike and taunting. "You're too late, Lisa. She chose." Cold dread froze her veins as that voice pierced the air again. It felt as if the very walls were tightening around her, leaving no room to breathe. No, Sarah chose life. Thud, thud. A weighty pounding resonated from the threshold of Sarah's room once more, louder and insistent. Lisa's heart raced in tandem with the beats echoing through her head. The house was alive. It craved something. "Mom, what's happening?" Jake's small voice trembled, interrupting her train of thought. Suddenly, a brilliant flash of light illuminated the hallway, making shadows leap and dance. Just as quickly, everything plunged into darkness again. The faintest sound of laughter mingled with the silence, chilling her to the core. "Stay here!" Lisa shouted, the fear constricting her throat. She gripped Jake's arm tighter, the warmth anchoring her in this nightmarish reality. "I need to see what's happening." Pushing through the darkness, she advanced toward Sarah's door, the chilling laughter echoing louder, no longer taunting, but echoing like a haunting lullaby. She reached for the handle, poised between staying with Jake and seeking her daughter. "Stay with me, Jake," she whispered, the trust evident in the child's wide eyes. With a pulse racing like thunder, Lisa opened the door. The room was glowing faintly, an unnatural light enveloping everything. A figure stood in the center, poised and motionless. "Sarah?" Lisa breathed, straining to peer into the sudden brightness. She stepped inside, Jake clinging tightly to her, his little breaths quickening with confusion. But as Lisa stepped further in, the light shifted. The figure dissolved into shadow. It morphed into something darker and twisted. A sickening realization crashed over her. Not just Sarah's shadow, no, it was something else entirely. "Welcome home, Lisa," it hissed, and the darkness closed in again, far thicker, far more malevolent than before. With her heart in her throat, Lisa's instincts screamed for flight, but she couldn't turn away now, not when Sarah's voice stretched through the fabric of the night, pleading for help. What price would she pay to uncover the truth? In that moment, the echoes of her choices loomed large, mingling with the shadows. And somewhere, deep within the darkness, Sarah's fate awaited in the chilling silence. Would Lisa be able to save her, or would she too become just another whisper in the night? Lisa's breath hitched as she stepped deeper into the room, the shadows swirling around her like claws reaching for her very soul. The air turned heavy, thick with a sense of loss. "Sarah?" she called again, the word escaping her lips as a desperate plea. The room began to pulse with energy, flickering like a dying light bulb, creating brief flashes of horror. Grotesque faces twisted in silent screams, eyes wide with fear. Each fleeting glimpse scarred her mind. What happened here? She thought, the realization clawing at her consciousness. "Mom, I don't like this." Jake's voice trembled behind her, innocence lost in the dark. She could feel his small hands clutching the sleeve of her shirt, petrified of the shadows shifting around them. "It's okay, buddy. I'm right here," she choked out, forcing herself to turn back towards him, desperately trying to shield him from the horrors around. But the darkness seemed to pull him closer, like it had its own will. The laughter that echoed around them twisted into grief, morphing into Sarah's voice, warped and sorrowful. "You have to let me go, Mom. You're still holding on." A chill washed over Lisa, leaving her paralyzed. The words struck her like a dagger, a truth she hadn't fully accepted. But as she fought against it, a vision clawed at her mind. She saw Sarah standing, small and fragile, surrounded by shadows that whispered maliciously, promising things that chilled her bones. Suddenly the figure shifted. It was no longer a shadow, but a twisted imitation of her daughter, with sunken eyes and a mouth that grinned unnaturally wide. "I'm so lonely here," it cooed, the echo pained and twisted. Her heart raced. "No, you're not my Sarah," she shouted, but the voice continued, wrapping around her thoughts. "Why did you leave me?" it purred. "You never looked back. You abandoned me." Each seed of doubt, every regret buried beneath a mound of grief, sprang to life. The guilt gnawed at her, fierce and relentless. "I would never leave you. I would do anything." As if in response, the shadow surged forward, sweeping around her, tightening like a noose. "Do you mean it?" it hissed, the voice now layered with malice, vibrating through the air. I need to save her," she gasped, vision blurring as tears spilled down her cheeks. But she felt helpless, suffocated by a darkness that gnawed on her heart. "Mom!" Jake cried, pulling hard on her sleeve. She could barely see him through the encroaching gloom, yet his voice anchored her amidst the chaos. "Don't listen!" His small plea cut through the fog. She could feel her pulse racing, brain screaming that she needed to act, but act how? Desperately, Lisa pushed against the weight of the shadow pressing against her chest. "I will not give in. I will not betray my daughter." Then she remembered the family photos hanging on the wall, capturing smiles, love, memories. Her hand shot out towards them, a desperate reach for light. "Sarah, I love you!" The words burst forth, reverberating in the dark. For a moment, silence fell. The oppressive weight lifted just enough for her to gasp for breath. But with that silence came a face, a gaunt, hollow resemblance of Sarah. "You still think you can save me?" it breathed, the voice now mocking. "All you have to do is give in." Lisa's heart raced. That shadow wasn't just there to haunt her. It wanted to consume her, wanted her to surrender. She looked at Jake, then back at the shadowy figure that hovered, waiting for her to buckle. "Mom," Jake whispered, clutching his toy tightly. "Please." With all her might, she shouted, "No, I will not lose you." As the darkness shrieked in anger, the walls began to tremble, and a cacophony of whispers erupted, filling the room with a suffocating energy. Lisa steeled herself. She would fight, even against the very fabric of despair. But the truth of the entity tugged at her essence, revealing something she hadn't expected. What darkness truly wanted was not just to erase her, but to take Jake as well. Realization hit her like ice. What if she lost him here, too? With that chilling thought, she grabbed Jake's hand, pulling him close. "We're leaving!" But as they turned to flee, a sudden darkness erupted in front of them, blocking the way. The figure stood, grinning, fresh malice sparkling in its eyes. You can't escape that easily. What had she unleashed by confronting the shadows? "Jake, run!" she shouted, but dread sunk deep. Would escape come at a price? Would they both be swallowed whole by remnants of the past, lost forever? The darkness thickened, and as they darted towards the door, an unearthly laugh echoed around them. Would they make it out, or be trapped in this nightmare for eternity? The shadows writhed in anticipation, thick as smoke and suffocating in their presence. Lisa pulled Jake closer, her heart hammering wildly, each beat drowned by the chorus of whispers. "You can't run," they crooned, sentient and hungry. Fear wrapped around her like a vice. She scanned the room for an escape. Every corner seemed to twist, the familiar morphing into the grotesque under the darkness's oppressive grip. The door sat ahead, barely visible, but at the same time it felt impossibly far away. "Mom, please," Jake whimpered, his voice laced with pure terror. The grip on her sleeve tightened. She could feel his knuckles white with fear. "Stay close, honey," Lisa whispered, her mind racing. "I won't let anything happen to you." Desperation ignited a sudden rush of adrenaline as she took a step forward, forcing her feet to move despite the fear that glued them to the floor. Behind them, the shadowy figure's laughter echoed, a disjointed symphony of malice that filled the room. "You think you can outrun the truth? It will always find you." With each echo, the air around them thickened, pushing back against her as if the very space wanted to swallow them whole. "Just let me in," the spectral figure cooed, the voice familiar yet alien. "We could be so much happier together, forever." "No!" Lisa screamed against the looming dread, propelling herself forward. Shadows lashed out, hissing like angry serpents. They clawed at her ankles, threatening to drag her into the abyss at their feet. "Mom, I can't!" Jake's cry cracked through the chaos, and she risked a glance back. His face was pale, eyes wide and terrified. "Hold on," she urged, squeezing his hand as she summoned every bit of strength from deep within. "We're getting out." But the darkness didn't relent. In that moment, it shifted, expanding and flowing towards them like a living entity. It snaked around their legs, pulling, gnawing, whispering promises of relief from pain, if only they would submit. Suddenly, a flicker caught her eye. The family photos, still clinging to the wall, flickered back to life, faces shining bright against the gloom. "They're not gone," Lisa realized, the spark igniting a flicker of hope within her. "They're still with us." "Mom, look out!" Jake's warning shattered her focus. She turned, just in time to see the shadow rush toward them, a monstrous wave crashing against the shore. Without thinking, she lunged toward the photos, yanking them off the wall, feeling the glass shatter under her grip. "Stay close," she commanded, cradling the remnants of their memories like shields. The laughter turned into a roar, each roar igniting the shadows, boiling and seething with fury as they recoiled from the light. "Let's go, now," Lisa urged, praying the flickering images could protect them long enough to reach the door. They charged forward, but the darkness roared back, crashing like thunder as it tried to swallow their escape. The door loomed closer, warped by the tumult, but the shadows lunged again, trying to ensnare Jake's tiny form. "No!" Lisa cried, almost losing her grip on him.
As she stumbled, a bright memory flashed in her mind. Sarah, laughing, playing, alive. "Jake, hold on to me!" With newfound resolve, she thrust the broken photos forward like weapons, and the darkness howled. The spectral figure twisted, eyes dimming as it recoiled from the potent light filled with laughter and joy. "Not without her," it screeched. And for a brief moment, fear washed over Lisa again. Would she truly have to choose? "Mom!" Jake pulled her back to reality, voice trembling. The door was almost within reach, the frames of light calling them. With a fierce scream, Lisa ripped the final remnant of the past from the wall. "I won't let you take him!" Their feet pounded, hearts raced, shadows lunged and snapped at their heels. Just as they reached the doorframe, a powerful force slammed against them, threatening to tear them apart. "No!" she screamed, gripping Jake even tighter, the room trembling with their intensity. Would they burst through into safety, or would they be swallowed whole by the darkness, claiming both of their souls? With a final swift motion, Lisa flung the last photo into the shadows as she threw herself through the doorway, pulling Jake along. And the shadows screamed. What awaited them on the other side? Would escape mean freedom, or plunge them deeper into despair? They stumbled into the hallway, the door slamming shut behind them with a resounding finality. The shadows shrieked in protest, their anguished wails echoing through the narrow space. Lisa's lungs burned. She gasped for air, pulling Jake tightly against her, as if their combined weight could shield them from the horrors lurking within. "Mom, what's happening?" Jake's voice trembled, a fragile whisper that cut through the terror. The light from a flickering bulb overhead battled the darkness, casting long, monstrous shadows that danced with malevolence. "I don't know, sweetheart, but we need to keep moving." Lisa forced the words out, heart racing as panic coursed through her veins. Forward was the only option. The hallway stretched out before them, cluttered with discarded furniture and broken memories. Each creak of the floorboards beneath them sounded like a warning. They ran, adrenaline pumping, into the murky remnants of what used to be home. That familiar warmth now felt cold, draped in a heavy shroud of dread. "Mom, the shadows!" Jake pointed frantically at an area behind them, where wisps of darkness flared and surged like hungry beasts on a hunt. "Keep running," she urged, straining to drown out the whisper that beckoned from the corners. "We have to find a way out." They burst into the living room, where the air was stifled by the weight of memories. Family photos lined the mantel, distorted images, sorrows etched into each frame. The shadows flickered in and out, revealing glimpses of the past. A toddler's birthday party, a summer barbecue, laughter frozen in time. Lisa's heart lurched. Those moments should have brought comfort, but now felt like bait for the predation waiting to envelop them. "Stay close," she cried, darting toward the front door, desperate for escape. The doorknob turned under her shaking hand, but it wouldn't budge. The pressure of something unseen pressed against her back, constricting, squeezing the very breath from her lungs. "No, no, please! Mom!" Jake squealed, panic lacing his voice. The shadows were creeping into the room, writhing like live wires, hissing as they closed in. "Get behind me!" With a surge of maternal strength, Lisa shoved Jake back against the wall, using her body as a last line of defense as the darkness surged forward. "You won't take him!" A piercing laugh erupted, echoing through the room, filled with sinister glee. "You think you can shield him? You belong to me, just as the others did." The air crackled, and suddenly the shadows recoiled as if slapped back by an unseen force. In that instant of reprieve, Lisa turned and punched the door with all her strength. She felt a strange energy pulse through her, fueled not just by fear, but by love. The door burst open. Outside was a swirling fog, illuminating the pathway ahead with sickly hues of green and purple.
Behind them, the shadows recoiled momentarily, but began to gather, forming a mass of malice that writhed and pulsated ominously. "Go, Jake, run!" Lisa shouted as she pushed him through the opening. He stumbled onto the porch, eyes wide with shock, the cold air biting. But as she stepped outside, the darkness surged again, reaching, grasping, trying to ensnare her foot. "No!" she screamed, kicking futilely while pulling harder on the door, praying it would hold. Suddenly, a vision flooded her mind. Sarah's sweet face, full of innocence. "Mommy, don't forget me!" "Never!" Lisa cried out. The shadow shrieked again, the sound sending ice through her heart. "I won't lose anyone else." With a surge of desperation, she yanked herself free, lunging from the threshold into the misty night, pulling the door shut behind them with a final thud. But the peace was fleeting. The pressure of the dark world pressed in around them, and the laugh echoed on the wind, the children's laughter twisting into something distorted, sinister. Where had they run to? Was it truly outside? The fog thickened, forming shapes and figures before her. Which was the next shadow waiting to claim them? And as doubt prickled at her resolve, a looming figure loomed just beyond the shifting mist. "Welcome back," it whispered, as the darkness laughed once more, promising a nightmare worse than any they had faced before. What horrors lay ahead, buried within the fog, and what pasts would betray them now? Lisa's heart raced as the figure stepped closer, emerging from the fog. A man draped in shadows, his features barely visible, a thin smile playing on his lips. "You've returned, Lisa," he said, with a voice like gravel scraping against stone. Who are you?" she stammered, instinctively drawing Jake closer, using her body to shield him from the encroaching silhouette. The man's laughter echoed through the chilling night air. "Oh, don't you remember? I was the one who offered you refuge. Now, look around. Perhaps you preferred the darkness, after all." "What do you want?" Lisa demanded, her voice trembling yet defiant. The shadows swirled beside him, as if they had lives of their own. "Want? Such a trivial word. No, I seek the truth. The truth buried here, in your home, your memories." With a jerk, the figure gestured toward the house, a roiling mass of dread that loomed over them. "It has much to reveal. Secrets you bury deep. Secrets that want to be remembered." Shivers raced down her spine. Lisa's thoughts flickered to Sarah, her sweet daughter, with a smile that could light even the darkest corners of her heart. "Leave us alone!" But the man just stepped forward, his smile widening as shadows flared and danced around him. "You cannot hide from the past. It always finds a way to the surface." Jake whimpered at her side, sensing the thick terror hanging in the air. He tugged at her sleeve. "Mom, I don't like this." "Jake, stay behind me." Lisa's heart thudded painfully in her chest. The fog curled and writhed like a living thing, cloaking the porch in malevolence, sapping away any semblance of safety. "Listen closely," the man continued, his tone cool and collected. "You have all but forgotten Sarah, haven't you?" The mention of her daughter was a knife slicing through Lisa's resolve. "No, I loved her. I still love her." Love, such a fragile word. He stepped closer, shadows coiling at his feet like serpents. "You were too busy living in denial. You allowed darkness into your heart, didn't you?" "No!" The denial burst from her lips, but even as she said it, doubt prickled at her mind.
Throwing her hand against her forehead, she fought against the swell of guilt rising within her. I never forgot. Then why is she absent from this world? Why did you let her cross the threshold alone? The man's smile faded, as if he fed off her distress. It's time to remember the love and the pain. It's time to face what you've buried. With a loud clap, the silence shattered. The house behind them shook violently. The chimney groaned, bricks tumbling down like raindrops. Windows rattled, the shadows recoiled, only to reform with renewed vigor. "Mom!" Jake cried out, his small voice tinged with fear, his face pale as he clung to her leg. "What's happening?" "Hold on to me, Jake," Lisa shouted, her eyes wide as the walls trembled with fury. A layer of dust filled the air, swirling in the eerie haze. But beneath the turmoil, whispers began to rise, the echoes of forgotten memories creeping back into focus. "Lisa, there's nowhere to hide from the truth." The man's voice rose above the chaos, filling her mind with piercing clarity. "You must choose. Will you confront the shadows of your past, or will you succumb to their pursuit?" Suddenly, the front door burst open, released from the pressures of the waking nightmare. Within, the gaping maw of a darkened hallway slithered closer, inviting them back into the depths. She felt the chilling grasp of despair wrapping around her mind. "What do we do?" Panic raced in her veins. But the man stepped back, his smile returning like a predator's final feast. "The choice is yours. Will you turn back, or forge ahead into realms you've tried to escape?" With the fog thickening around them, choking out hope, the shadows hissed their hungry encouragement. Lisa's breath quickened, the weight of her decision heavy on her chest. "Mom?" Jake's voice barely broke a whisper, quivering with undilated fear. She looked at him, the helplessness mirrored in their eyes, swallowed by the cacophony of echoes and despair. What lay beyond the darkened door? The truth or a deeper darkness? In that moment she knew, whatever the truth, it would cost her everything. And the looming figure's laughter reverberated in her ears, sealing their fate. Would they step inside, or could they shatter the ties that bound them to the past? With their future hanging by a thread, Lisa felt a cold hand of dread clutch at her heart. In the end, did they have the strength to confront what awaited within? Lisa took a shaky breath. The darkness around her felt alive, teeming with secrets just waiting to ensnare them. The edges of the porch seemed to dissolve into the fog, the familiar path to her home now a twisted maze. Jake's grip tightened on her leg, his small frame trembling. "Mom, I'm scared," he whispered, his voice thin and shaking, barely audible over the echoing laughter of the shadowy figure. "I know, sweetheart," she replied, her voice barely more than a croak. The weight of the unknown pressed down, heavy and suffocating. "But we can't stay here." With a sudden burst of determination, she took a step forward, pulling Jake along. They were not going to let the darkness swallow them whole. As they passed through the threshold of the door, the air shifted. Inside, the house felt colder, the shadows heavier. The flickering light bulbs above cast sinister shapes on the walls that danced like they were alive. Lisa took a deep breath, forcing herself to remain steady as she felt the oppressive atmosphere clinging to them. "Do you remember, Jake?" she asked, trying to find something familiar in the disarray. "This was home. We used to—" "Mom, please don't," Jake cut her off, shrinking behind her. "I don't want to remember." But they needed to remember. Lisa knew that. She had buried so much, convinced herself it was for the best. Yet here, under the watchful gaze of the shadows, she felt those memories clawing their way to the surface. "Do you see it?" she whispered, pointing to the staircase that loomed at the end of the hall. Old family photographs hung on the walls, their glossy surfaces covered with a layer of dust. Each face stared back, caught between time and sorrow, a reminder of what was lost. As they moved deeper, Lisa's heart began to pound. She felt the shadows shifting around them, swirling like a storm ready to unleash its fury. The soft whispers returned, incomprehensible yet urgent, tugging at the edges of her mind. The man's voice echoed around them, winding through the air like an insidious melody. "Face your truth, Lisa. They're waiting. All of them." Energy vibrated in the air, a tangible anxiety. Jake clung tighter to her side as they crept toward the living room, memories flooding her mind, each one a heavier weight hanging on her heart. "Jake, stand close," she commanded. "I don't know what's in here, but we have to stick together." As they entered the room, the shadows writhed more intensely. The soft hum of the electric heater buzzed, but it offered no warmth. Instead, it felt like a siren call, an invitation to unravel the layers she built around her grief. In the corner, the faded couch, once a gathering place for laughter and warmth, now stood stark and foreboding. Lisa's hands trembled as she touched its worn fabric, memories flooding her, mingling with regret. It was the last place she'd seen Sarah, sitting there, joy spilling from her tiny frame, before everything shattered. She caught her breath, the pain a tangible ache in her chest. "Sarah," she whispered, the name barely escaping her lips, before the shadows seemed to shift in response. "Mom, look!" Jake squeaked. He pointed toward the hallway, wide-eyed. Lisa turned to where he was pointing, and saw a flicker of white making its way down toward the basement door. The flutter vanished as suddenly as it had appeared, but the pull was undeniable. "We have to go." With determination, Lisa led Jake toward the door while the shadows hissed their warnings. The moment they stepped down the creaking steps, the air thickened, charged with anticipation. Each step seemed to echo their descent into darkness, a reminder that the truth awaited below. The basement door slammed shut behind them, plunging them into the depths of shadow. Faint rustling sounded from within the blackness, a whisper of fears yet to be revealed. "Stay close, Jake," Lisa shouted over the mounting terror. "What will we find?" he asked, a mix of fear and curiosity blooming in his voice. "Whatever it is, we have to face it together." But as they ventured deeper, the blood in her veins turned to ice. With every step, Lisa felt the weight of their past crushing down around them. Unbeknownst to them, something watched from the shadows, eager for a reckoning. The chilling flicker of movement darted past their vision, and suddenly an icy dread pulsated in the air. Lisa's heart raced. What was lurking in the darkness? What awaited them at the end of this ominous path? With a deep breath, she gripped Jake's hand tighter, knowing they were crossing a threshold from which there would be no return. And in that silence, echoing off the walls, one question loomed devastatingly close. Would the truth set them free, or would it bind them to the darkness forever? The basement air was thick, almost suffocating. Lisa stepped forward, each footfall muffled by the damp concrete. A chill swept over her, lingering like a ghostly touch. Jake whimpered beside her, his small body trembling. "Mom, I don't like it down here," he said, his voice barely a whisper. As they ventured further into the abyss, "I know, sweetheart, just stay close," Lisa breathed, forcing confidence into her trembling words. The silence wrapped around them, heavy and foreboding. As they stepped deeper, pinpricks of light emerged from behind the shadows, flickering like fireflies. But instead of comfort, Lisa felt dread coil around her heart. The lights danced erratically, illuminating a series of old boxes stacked haphazardly against the far wall. She moved toward them, an urge to uncover what lay beneath the dust, almost magnetic. "Jake, wait here. I need to look." He clutched the railing, eyes wide. Please, don't leave me, Mom. She paused, realizing the fear in his voice mirrored her own. But she pressed on, urging herself to be brave for Jake's sake. One more box to check wasn't so dangerous, was it? As she drew closer, a chill skittered up her spine. The boxes themselves looked ancient, their corners cobwebbed and dark. Something about them felt wrong, as if they housed memories better left untouched. Lisa knelt before a particularly large box, worn and cracked, with remnants of a faded label barely clinging to the surface. Heart racing, she pried it open, the lid creaking like a creature awakening from a long slumber. Inside were old toys, rusted metal trinkets, and dust-covered stuffed animals. Among them lay a small, dusty picture frame, the glass cracked. She picked it up, revealing a grainy image of a child, a girl with sunny curls and a bright smile. "Sarah," Lisa breathed, whispering her daughter's name. Her pulse quickened, memories surfacing like specters. Joyful days running in the backyard, laughter echoing in the hall. But the joy quickly turned, twisting into the darkness that had followed her since that fateful night. "Mom!" Jake's terrified voice broke through her thoughts, and she turned in alarm. Just in time to see shadows undulating, creeping toward him. "Get back!" she screamed, lunging toward him. But it was too late. The shadows formed into a swirling mass, engulfing Jake in a suffocating embrace. "Mom!" he cried as the darkness wrapped around him, pulling him into its depths. "No!" Lisa launched forward, her heart hammering as panic seeped into every fiber of her being. This wasn't happening. She couldn't lose him too. She grasped at the shadows, but they slipped away like smoke, taunting her with an almost sentient wickedness. "Jake, hold on, I'm coming." But the shadows twisted, wrapping tighter, blocking her path, as if she were unwanted here. She felt the air chill deeper, a cold that gnawed at her resolve. Why was this happening? The whispers grew louder, clear now, as if the house itself spoke to her. "Face it, face your truth." "No, I will not let you take him," Lisa screamed. Suddenly, the lights flickered violently, the basement vibrating with energy. She stumbled back, fear clawing at her throat as the picture frame slipped from her fingers, shattering on the floor. The moment the glass broke, the basement erupted in a cacophony of laughter, joyful and sinister at once. And then, in the midst of that noise, a small voice rang clear above the madness. "Mom, please, I can't see!" Lisa's heart dropped. Her son was fading, trapped in the very darkness she had sought to confront. Time stopped as terror flooded her veins. With a burst of adrenaline, she lunged forward into the blackness, ready to fight for her child. But as she reached out, a hand clawed from the shadows, gripping her wrist with a cold, unyielding force. "Join us," a voice hissed, echoing from all directions. And in that moment, she knew. The darkness wasn't just hungry, it was alive, and it had no intention of letting go of any of them. "Jake!" she screamed, desperation overtaking her. But the shadows were relentless, tightening their grasp around her. This wasn't merely a darkness, it was the embodiment of her past, the horrors she had ignored, coming to claim its due. What would she sacrifice to save her son? Knowing the truth could mean losing everything, Lisa clawed at the hand around her wrist. But as blackness closed in, she felt the pull of long-buried secrets threatening to emerge. Would she surrender her soul to unveil the truth? And would it be enough to save Jake? As the shadows swirled, Lisa's heart raced. Somewhere in this darkness, her answer awaited, if only she could find the strength to face it. Lisa fought against the shadows, each heartbeat a countdown to the unknown. Panic surged through her as she felt the cold fingertips tightening around her wrist, pulling her further into the suffocating darkness. "Jake!" she cried, desperately searching for any sign of her son.
I won't abandon you." With every ounce of strength, she yanked her arm free from the icy grip and plunged deeper into the swirling void where Jake had been taken. Memories twisted and warped around her, flickering like faulty bulbs. Joyous moments of Sarah's laughter, birthday surprises, simple family dinners. They melded into a cacophony of grief and regret, suffocating her under their weight. "Mom!" Jake's voice wavered from nowhere and everywhere, seeming trapped between the living and the shadows. The sound struck her heart with a fresh wave of fear, raw and relentless. She had to find him. More than anything, she had to save him from this fate. Fighting through the veil of memories clawing at her, Lisa pushed forward. As she clutched the ground beneath her with trembling hands, she spotted a flicker of light ahead. It was fleeting, like the dying glint of hope. She sprinted towards it, fueled by urgency and a mother's love. "I'm coming, Jake!" Jake's cries grew more frantic, intertwining with the whispers of the shadows that taunted her. "You'll never escape. The darkness loves you." The mention of love twisted inside her, but she pressed on, feeling warmth radiating from the light. It couldn't end like this, not when it felt so close. She rushed forward and stumbled into a small clearing illuminated by soft, shimmering light. The shadows recoiled, hissing as if burned by the radiance. There, in the center, sat an old, weathered trunk beside a single flickering candle. Hope glimmered in her chest, but it was mixed with fear. What lay within? "Mom, I can't see!" Jake's voice cut through the fear thunderously, grounding her in reality. "Please help me!" Instinctively, Lisa approached the trunk. Her heart raced with every step. Sweat beaded on her brow as she knelt before it, the whispers receding momentarily as she fumbled with the latch. Whatever was inside could either save them or doom them. "Mom, I can't see!" Jake's voice cut through the fear thunderously, grounding her in reality. "Please help me!" Instinctively, Lisa approached the trunk. Her heart raced with every step. Sweat beaded on her brow as she knelt before it, the whispers receding momentarily as she fumbled with the latch. Whatever was inside could either save them or doom them. "Just like before," she whispered to herself, forcing calm into her shaking hands. With a deep breath, she flung the lid open. Inside lay countless objects, discarded toys, forgotten drawings, all remnants of happier times. But at the bottom rested a diary. Dusty but familiar, she recognized Sarah's delicate handwriting on the cover. Overcome with emotion, she pulled it out. The moment she opened the diary, the world around her shifted. The shadows howled, swirling angrily, trying to claw back what they had nearly consumed. But the light surged brighter, piercing through the dark like the dawn breaking through the night. She flipped through the pages, and with each handwritten word, memories flooded back. Moments of connection, of love, of family. Each memory bathed in warmth, pushed back against the encroaching darkness. "See it, face it," the shadows hissed, but Lisa held firm, reciting each memory in her mind, letting love, not fear, define her choices. "You don't own me. You don't own my family." The shadows surged, coiling, becoming tangible forms of hands reaching for her. But Lisa's resolve ignited brighter than the darkness. "You cannot take him, just like you didn't take Sarah. I will fight for him." With that, she turned, ready to confront the insidious figure lurking at the threshold of her past. "I know the truth now. I've buried it long enough. You will not use it against me." And just like that, the trunk emitted a brilliant light, enveloping her in warmth and strength. The shadows recoiled, screeching as they pulled back against this powerful wave of love and truth. They didn't desire light. They thrived in darkness, in fear and despair, and Lisa had renounced that. "Jake, I'm coming," she shouted, bracing herself against the oncoming storm of shadows. With her heart pounding, she maneuvered through the dancing figures that sought to consume her, reaching for the fleeting echoes of Jake. "I won't let you go," she cried, with the light radiating from her illuminating the space between them. Then she finally saw him, huddled behind a wavering wall of darkness. Fear etched across his young face made her blood run cold. She ran toward him, straining against the shadows that lashed out at her. "I'm here, sweetheart. Take my hand." With that, their fingers intertwined just as the shadows coiled around her again, but this time they didn't pull her back. The surge of love detonated like a firework, blasting waves of energy that hurled the darkness back. Light engulfed them, forcing the shadows to shriek and dissipate like smoke in the wind. In that moment of brightness, Lisa felt the weight of fear lift. Jake was free, and they were together. The darkness melted away, revealing the world around them shimmering with warmth and familiarity. She quickly turned to him. "I've got you. We're going home." The two of them staggered back as the remnants of the evil faded away, a binding force that had kept them captive for so long. As they reached the vanishing edge of the shadows, Lisa felt tears of relief redden her cheeks, the air feeling lighter. "Mom, I was so scared," Jake said, voice trembling but now filled with life. "I know, love, but we did it. We faced the darkness together." Embracing him tightly, Lisa breathed in the smell of fresh air, laughing through tears that mingled with joy. They had confronted the shadows, unearthed the terrifying truths that bound them in darkness, and emerged stronger. Determined, they stepped back towards the front of their home, no longer shrouded in despair. The figures of their past had lost their power over them, and freedom awaited with every dawn that broke. As they reached the open door, Lisa paused for a moment, looking back. The shadows had faded, replaced by memories of love, laughter, and family, the true essence of home. "Let's never forget, but never be bound by them again," she promised herself and Jake, fingers tightly woven together, taking the first step into their new light. And as the sun began to rise, painting the world in vibrant colors, Lisa knew they had begun a new chapter, one where love would always illuminate the path ahead. If you enjoyed this intense conclusion and want to hear more spine-tingling stories like this, you need to subscribe now. It's time to smash that like button because your support helps us reach more hearts and minds eager for thrill. Flood that comment section with your reactions and theories about this story. I want to hear what you think. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with 5 friends who love a good scare. Let's spread the thrills together. As they reached the open door, Lisa paused for a moment, looking back. The shadows had faded, replaced by memories of love, laughter, and family, the true essence of home. "Let's never forget, but never be bound by them again," she promised herself and Jake, fingers tightly woven together, taking the first step into their new light. And as the sun began to rise, painting the world in vibrant colors, Lisa knew they had begun a new chapter, one where love would always illuminate the path ahead. If you enjoyed this intense conclusion and want to hear more spine-tingling stories like this, you need to subscribe now. It's time to smash that like button because your support helps us reach more hearts and minds eager for thrill. Flood that comment section with your reactions and theories about this story. I want to hear what you think. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with 5 friends who love a good scare. Let's spread the thrills together.